All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'll call to order the September Water, Sewer, and Engineering Committee meeting. And Kathy is with us virtually, so I will call a quick roll. We have the Deputy Supervisor Joe Drescher, Frank Basile, Town Attorney Elena Finnan, Matt Yetto, Dan Wilkie, myself, and some members of the community here also. With that, I will take a motion to approve the August Water Sewer Engineering Committee meeting minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, and those minutes are approved. And we can start with a brief public comment period. I see we have a few people here. I'll just remind everyone that we follow the same code of conduct that we follow in our town board meetings. We ask that your comments are brief and respectful. And anybody would like to speak, feel free.
I've got an easy question. That's why I'll go first. My name is Nora Galto. I'm at the 1049 Palmer Avenue. And I just need a clarification of, I know on the utility bill, water and sewer consumption usage are identical. Can you clarify for me why that's the case?
There are no sewer meters in homes. So we use the water meter to gauge how much water is coming into the house. And then there's the minimum is for water is less. And the minimum for sewer is more. So the initial fee for your minimum consumption is worked into the rate for the sewer. So we assume additional water is coming into the house, but not going down the sewer. So that's how it's built into the rate.
Okay,
That's why you see the minimum is more gallons.
Yeah.
And that's what it's saying.
and it's all in code is this something that's spelled out in code in Niskina's code or?
It was in the resolution that approved
Okay.
the rates.
Yeah, just the whole mechanism of equating sewer and water usage I thought that was, okay. Do other municipalities have the ability to track?
It's treated differently and based on the municipality. Some have a flat fee. Some have based on your assessed value of your home.
Okay,
It varies, but we're trying to do it in a way that's fair and consistent.
thank you.
I had a question too, based on what she was asking you. I thought that the reason that the sewer was higher, the minimum, was because like if you water your lawn or something,
Yes.
that's not right. Am I correct?
Yes,
Am I
that's
understanding?
how, yeah, so that's factored into the
Rate.
rate.
Okay, thank you I
Yeah.
just want to make sure I understood it. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else wish to speak?
Joe Yankel, Roman Ave. I wanted to listen to what's gonna happen during the committee meeting, but as just a general comment, what I did want to, hear from the committee today and at least engage in some discussion on is the past resolution that talked about the utility rate bill. I know we're coming close to the fall bill. So we're kind of running up against the wall in terms of time. And I only see two options before the town board and the residents at this point, and it's either for this bill to come out in October, either it's going to have to be a complete rollback to the previous rate design, which is already tried and true and tested. Whether or not that's the accurate rate design for the moment, that would be the simplest thing to roll back. Or if a modified rate design is going to be happening, that has to happen like very, very quickly, which means there has to be a lot of proof testing on the residential and business side to run these calculations to make sure that they're right. And then you may run the risk of still not coming up with a proper rate design, and you're going to have some serious blowback from the residents and business owners. So that's kind of what I wanted to have some discussion about today, to get a feel from the committee, where it is that you're going with this, because we haven't heard anything in the last month or so. And how intense the scrutiny is on this issue, that we have to have some resolution, but something has to happen. So that's what I'm looking for feedback on today.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, Dan Sexton, Rosendale. I had a couple of questions in this regards to what's been happening over the last couple of years. Primarily, I've been looking at 2023. There was a charge, there's been a charge over many years in Sewer District 1 called City Connections. And I assume we're sending effluent over to Schenectady, maybe to, I don't know what that charge is, but I assume that that's what it might be. Is that correct?
There should only be one charge on the taxes, which was,
It's not on the taxes. This came out of the budget.
but,
The
that's
expenses.
that's the town's payment to the city.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, in 2020, and so prior years, so let's say 2022, it was around 600,000. Was budgeted and what was paid. In 2023, 647,000 budgeted, but only 318,000 paid. What happened there?
It was paid. I don't know exactly why it's not reflected in that. And
This came out of requests for the budget information, the FOIL stuff. So this is the actual expended for 2023.
there is a lag because of the way the billing is. You may be catching the lag.
So it may have fallen over into next year or into this year.
I think it's
That was 2023. It may have fallen over to 2024.
It's accounted for in the budget. It gets encumbered and may not be paid into the
Yeah, but it wasn't on the encumbrances. Yeah, it wasn't on the encumbrances. So that
I
was,
can check for you.
yeah, I have the.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. The other thing was, with the new rate design, it appears that in 2023, when we changed the property tax in Sewer District 1 and lowered the property tax or lowered the item, the Sewer District 1 item in the property taxes, that we lowered it basically the property tax bills that I compared from 2022 to 2023, I looked at several of them, several different people around town. That all dropped by a factor of 4 to 5, depending upon the resident. So about 4 or 5. So it went from say 25% to what it previously was to like 20% of what it previously was. But what happened was, I think the new rate plan only came in for the last 6 months of the year. So all those residents in Sewer District 1 really didn't pay for the first half of the year. That there's a gap there. And that caused close to $1 million gap in revenues for Sewer District 1, which caused a big hit to the reserve fund for Sewer District. So I'd ask you to go back and take a look at that. I think what has ended up happening is residents of Sewer District 1 got 6 months of free water treatment effectively and didn't pay anything on their tax bill.
So that would be like a temporary problem.
Would be a temporary problem. Well, it could be a permanent problem if we never make up for it, right?
Correct. But it wasn't because of a trajectory.
No,
It was an
no,
error.
I think it was an error in the billing.
But the Marina Franchise, Dean Street, but I'm in Sewer District 1, so are you saying that like my bill is even gonna be higher?
I'm not saying anything. This
No,
is
but I
up
mean,
to, is
are
up to
you-
the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that there was a gap there because of the way the rate plan kicked in. The property taxes were lowered. It appears that the property taxes were lowered for the full year, but the rate change only happened for the half year. Follow what I'm
I
saying?
do follow what you're saying.
So I'd ask you to take a look at that.
Yeah, that makes sense, but that's a little concerning because that means that my bill is gonna get even higher.
Maybe temporarily, I don't know.
We'll take a look at it and see what we can find and definitely get back to you.
I don't expect your utility bill to go any higher. It was just, with the way he's explaining it is, the utility bill kicked in.
No, I think she's right because it's.
So the utility bill is not going to increase.
Well, it may not go, it depends on what you guys said, but there are 6 months that isn't accounted
Yeah.
in the billing.
It was a lag between.
No,
It was a
no,
lag between the taxes and when the new rate.
no, the new rate plan was only for the last half of last year, so they got charged for 6 months of water use, 6 months of sewer use on the bill that came in last March. But the property taxes were lowered from all the way back to January,
Yes. The
so
property taxes will remain as they are,
understood,
and the utility bills are based on 6 months usage.
right?
Moving forward, they won't.
So, but what happened from January to to January to June of last year. That doesn't look like that was billed. That's what I'm saying.
We can look into that.
Yeah. Those are the two things that I,
That would bring in a lot more revenue.
and that would have, yeah, that would have solved some of that problem, some of that $1 million drop in the reserve.
Does anyone else wish to speak? Marina?
I have a question also. I'm not an expert on budgets, as some people in this room are, but I've done enough budgeting that suppose I budget, I'm making up a simple number like $2,000. And I know that I'm only going to spend 1,000 of it this year and 1,000 of it will be encumbered for next year. That has to be reflected. It's not available. It's encumbered, right?
Yes.
So otherwise, it looks like you have an extra $1,000 in your account. So getting back to what Dan was saying, there's this huge difference of 300,000 roughly that's not accounted for. It was budgeted for, it's not encumbered. It makes absolutely no sense.
You can check with the conference office.
Right.
I mean, it was the encumbered at the year end, and then when the year starts, it rolls back over into the new budget line.
What I'm saying is, if this is how much, these two pieces of paper represent a budget, 1,000, 1,000, 2,000 is 2023. 1,000 is spent. 1,000 is still sitting there in the bank, but it's not profit. It's earmarked for something else. It's encumbered. So the thing is, it's not available. It's not available. The way the books are, it doesn't indicate that situation. It doesn't reflect that situation.
I mean, it's the city connections that we're talking about, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah, I can look into it after this. I don't know off the top of my head.
I would appreciate it.
That's
Yeah,
the main
Just,
payment that comes out of sewer one is.
so I've asked for an encumbrance report the last several years.
Oh,
So we'll find
fabulous.
out.
Okay, that would explain it.
And what will that report be?
And will they have
30
30
days
days, I believe?
max, yeah.
So that was a week ago.
Oh, okay, all right. Just trying to get a time frame. Okay.
Does anybody else wish to speak? Okay. With that, we will move into attorney's items.
Months residents not getting back to me. I think Linda was gonna try to reach out, but I haven't heard anything more. Fence easement agreement, oh, do you want to say something on that?
No, it was just a fence easement agreement. We're working with the applicant to actually file their permit. It's.
For 905?
Yeah, no, for
Or for 248,
248.
right, so that was tentative last month. So they're gonna be filling out the permits. but I
Yeah,
think
they thought that this was a faster way to do it, so they trying to get the easement out of the way first.
Gotcha. So as soon as I have the application, then I will get the easement draft. That'll be tentative for.
Okay. That, update on the lead
Sure.
service agreement?
Yeah, so just speaking before the meeting, our lead service survey is live online.
Yeah, I did it.
Oh, good. Thank you. And we're going to be mailing out, it's currently at the printers, I think within a day or two, we'll have it, we'll send it out to the remaining properties that we don't have the information for.
Miss Fiona.
Yeah, mainly, yeah, and,
Yeah.
there's about 5,000 additional properties that we need to get some information from, so that we can see what the pipe coming into someone's basement is. That helps us gauge on what the neighborhood is constructed with. And, once we have all this information, we'll submit it to the state as we're required to, lead service line, survey that they're conducting. It's very helpful to avoid us having to go in it, bother someone going to their house.
It was easy.
Thank you, I'm glad it worked out. So we'll have that information, and then, we also will share that with the properties when we're done with the list.
You said you were emailing or mailing?
It's gonna be, it's a
Mailing, okay.
mailer, yeah, and it's on the website, we did a blast, sort of a soft start by putting it on the website first and making sure everything worked well. And, I think we had 5 or 6 that responded so far.
And the post for it should be going out probably next week.
Yeah, it should be next week. Water and sewer maintenance. I have this on. This resolution has been tentative for a while where we have openings in the water and sewer maintenance crew. We're interviewing people as they apply. If I have a name prior to the meeting, I'll provide the name. I think we currently have 3 openings. The Valley Drive sewer pump station has the need for repair to replace one of the valves on the ground. With the price of $10,499, and that requires a resolution.
What is
It's
it,
a dollar amount.
is it a sole source or was it quotes?
We attempted to get quotes multiple places. I can see, but I know we had at least contacted 3 supply outlets, I guess is the best one. I can get the details on that.
It was 10,499.
The next one is a resolution, would be a resolution to modify resolution. We approved a dump truck modification with a 3rd axle last month. They took the truck in to do the work and they realized that additional labor is necessary to move some of the existing hardware on the chassis to make room for the axle. So the dollar amount would go from 16,900 up to 19,183.74. So I can give you that resolution number. I think the easiest way would be just to modify the resolution. They quoted us one price. Yeah,
Steve.
it's unforeseen, so
So
it'd be changed. Okay, last thing.
So
Okay,
Matt, what was the original?
16,900.
When they quoted us, did they take a look at that time?
They
at
did, yeah,
the
they did.
vehicle, and they didn't catch it then, but now they got it?
Yeah, it's just they're taking things apart and looking at it. It's a brand new truck and I don't want to have it overloaded. It's so big, having the 3rd axle will save the chassis.
Is it like a
Yes.
common type truck, or is it like should
It's
they have known, because it's like a widely used kind of truck, like? hey, this is
it's a 10-wheel dump truck. They're all a little bit different, each
what-
one.
Okay.
The next item is the pavement repair at Knott Street. I've been bugging a contractor who it has a state, they're on our bid list for a quote. And as of today, I still haven't received a quote from them. I'm trying to get a quote to find out whether or not we can purchase it under the bids that we did at the beginning of the year, or if they won't honor that, then we'll have to do sealed bids to go out and repair.
that's kind of
That's tentative because I don't know, if I have to do bids, then it's gonna take a little bit more time. Utility billing. The 2024 residential commercial utility bill reconciliation has been completed by Chris. And Kathleen and I have looked at it. We feel comfortable that it will be ready for approval by the board. And the warrant is for the fall has been created as well. And should be ready for the board meeting.
Bills.
The first quarter corporate bills in 2024, reconciliation is complete. We're just checking the numbers. If they're good, if everything looks good, we'll move forward with that. And then same thing with the warrant for the second quarter. The organic waste program at the wastewater treatment plant. Dan, do you want to give an update on that?
Yeah, we've been bringing in trucks of weight. As our pilot program. We're in the 3rd week of the program. We took in 2 trucks each week for the first 8,000 gallon tanker trucks for the first 2 weeks. And now we're in the 3rd week. We're able to ramp up to 4 8,000 gallon trucks this week. We just had this morning, I watched the fourth one this week unload, and so the schedule is for to continue with 4 trucks next week and continue ramping up for the next. We're doing a ramp up of 8 weeks, and so we're 3 weeks in, so 5 more weeks of ramping up, and then an additional 4 weeks. So we'll be taking in 2 trucks a day, 5 days a week. The last 4 weeks. Gas production is up. And all is going smooth from what we've seen with the parameters, the numbers on the testing, the samples, and so it's going smooth so far, as anticipated.
You said right now we're getting 4 8,000 gallons.
4 8,000 gallon trucks a week.
At the water treatment plant, we had a leak that surfaced last Friday. It's on a large water main that's running across the property, about 15 feet deep. So it's a pretty major repair. Our crews have been able to expose the pipe, take some measurements, order the necessary parts for the work. And I've gotten a contractor to schedule them to come in on Monday to do the repair. Because some of the preliminary work that we did, we may not have to pay the full amount that he quoted. If we do end up doing the full amount, I would need an emergency approval to be able to do it. His rate would be it's $8,450 over 2 days. But if we can get that down to 1 day, significantly save on that, and wouldn't even require town board action. But if it looks as if I'll speak with him prior to starting the work, and it looks like we need to have emergency approval, I'll send an email to the board
You said
Monday. I won't know. I'll speak with him. It would be emergency. I mean,
you gotta get a response back.
yeah.
Do we have anyone else we could reach out to, just in case we don't get a
Why don't
response?
you try to get the emergency approval, but just in case.
I'll do it
and then
just
if you
in case,
don't get
yeah.
it, then
That's fine. Yeah,
Work or something,
Right.
yeah.
just so we have
Under
it.
the policy.
And I just have one other thing. We have standard paper shredding event and TV recycling and electronics recycling event in the fall. Haven't heard any interest lately, and I just was curious if we want to continue to do that. And if so, we have to make some calls and schedule with the 2 companies that we would be using.
Yeah,
Is there interest?
I think we should definitely do it. I think every year we have a huge turnout, and I think last year especially, we were surprised at the amount of electronics we collected.
It was free, yeah.
Yeah. That's, you know,
Yeah, and it's still free now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's no cost to the public, even for the shredding either. There is a cost to the town for the paper shredding, 650, should be around 650. And we'll have to just,
it's usually in October, right?
yeah, we'll have to see how quickly we can get it scheduled. It's on a Saturday typically. And it's all run by volunteers, so we'll have to see what everyone's schedule looks like to try to get as many people there as possible. But if that's what the board would like to do, I can make some calls and we can start scheduling it.
Right, as long as, I mean, there's enough time, right? Because I wouldn't want something where we make all this planning, but it doesn't go out to the public in time and nobody
Yeah.
shows up.
We'll know. I'll call them either today or Monday, and they can tell us what their schedule looks like. It's the shredding one is usually the one that's the trickiest to schedule because they have a big truck.
Yeah.
The TVs, and we just put a dumpster here, we fill it, and then they can get it when it's empty.
Would it be okay if I said something?
Sure.
Yeah, the Jewish holidays start in October, back to back to back. If you could just please look at a Jewish calendar and
Sure.
make sure that you don't schedule it on Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. I don't remember
I
what
think
the
usually
dates was.
it's Saturday. I think you have to be at 10th of October.
What did you just say?
I think it's usually on a Saturday of mid-October.
Yeah,
so I think I think it's just, it would be just after the holidays,
I don't
but
remember.
we'll take a look.
You keep an eye on that.
Yeah, okay.
I just thought I'd mention it because it's an important thing to.
It is, absolutely. Thank you. Does anybody on the committee have anything else? Okay, just going back to public comment real quick to answer some of Joe's questions, and I know he wanted us to have a discussion on the utility billing. As I previously said, and everybody knows, we're working right now on appointing a new supervisor, we're working on appointing a controller. And I think it's in the best interest of everybody if we wait until we have people permanently in those positions before we make any major changes or major decisions on our path moving forward with utility billing. I have had some very preliminary conversations regarding working towards a solution. Like I said, I think until we have a permanent supervisor and a permanent controller, it's hard to make those decisions and really predict where any changes would bring us financially in the future. So I don't want anyone to think those conversations have been forgotten. I've heard a lot of comments about the resolution went to committee to, lack of a better term, to die. And that's not the case. I don't intend on letting it die. I think that we all intend on continuing the conversation and at least doing some research as we promised that we would do. But I think, that's where it stands for now. I do agree that we need to have some more in-depth conversations as the fall utility billing approaches. So I do plan on doing that, and I'll talk with Joe and Matt. But I think that's where things stand for now. Matt or Joe, do you want to add anything?
So could you at least put out a schedule of milestones of what you plan to do and when you plan to get them done? To get to resolving this issue?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as far as dates, I think we need to appoint a supervisor and appoint a controller. Those are going to be some major key players in our decision. Budget season for the town is coming up. We have our first budget workshops coming up, I think next month.
We're in the process of scheduling the budget workshops. There has been posting of the comptroller position and several interviews. So we are moving on those things. And, in full transparency, it is something that is talked about. The utility rates are talked about in these walls. I can say that with assurance. It's on our minds. It is being talked about. I mean, I heard it this morning at the first meeting that I was at, and I'm hearing it at the last meeting. So for what it's worth, it is being talked about. It's not like it's just being brushed aside.
Now, we have budgets for 2025. How is that going to be impacted with a lack of controller and also supervisor?
So there's already kind of the groundwork for the budget already done. So that'll get completed. They'll still have the budget workshops. It'll still be discussion, questions, all of that from the board to work that out. We still have a very good staff in the comptroller's office that have worked on these budgets for many, many years who can keep the ship afloat. We want a comptroller in time to review, but we also don't want to just pick someone to pick someone, right? That's the other thing is we don't want to just say, we're in a rush here, we're going to pick anybody. We want to make sure it's the right person. So that's kind of where we're at right now is, would we be doing more harm by just rushing something, right? Just because, or do we make sure it's the right person? So that is still, again, a conversation that's happening. It happened at the first meeting, and it's happening now. We're hearing it here.
So just to follow up on that, when will we see the fall bill? On or around the 15th? Is that usually when it comes in, like the second to third week?
Typically.
All right, so then you guys have to do some backwards planning here because if a new comptroller, even if you hire one this week, whoever that is obviously has to get their feet on the ground and they're going to have to assess what the past comptroller's redesign was. And they're going to be under significant stress to try and develop a rate design. And also, to the point that you just brought up about the budget, September 30th is when the tentative is due. And I knew full well that the supervisor had probably had the workings of a budget, but the trajectory, as you guys know full well, of that budget over the last 3 years has just continued to go up. So all things being equal, I was surmising that budget was going to be north of the $32.7 million mark overall. And that's going to be spread out into the general fund, highway, sewer, and water. So if you are relying on that and you're not really doing a full overhaul look at it, you're going to be struggling with comptroller trying to get into place and taking care of the water, sewer, utility piece of the overall budget, and then try and get this 2025 budget and all that. I mean, you got a lot of things to do all at once. And that's why I was saying that for me, the practical answer, even if you get a new comptroller tomorrow, you guys are gonna be completely up against the wall to try and get that fall bill out. And you're either going to have to stick with the current rate design that you have, or you're gonna have to fall back. I just don't see practically that's gonna be so much pressure on a new comptroller to try and develop a new rate design and get that vetted and tested and then deliver to everybody's, mailbox in a matter of, what are we talking about, like 6 weeks at this point?
Yeah, and Joe, I agree with everything you're saying. I think those types of conversations are conversations we'll have during our budget workshops about how it would affect next year's budget, and what a plan going forward is. And like I said, those conversations, and Joe said he hears them every day. So we are talking about it, we are discussing it. It hasn't just been forgotten about.
No,
pushed off to
but
the
yeah,
side.
but I think that's also why you're getting more and more angst at the town board meetings, because we've been talking about this, people have been talking about this since April, and now we're into September, and we have another board meeting coming up. And not only is the bill gonna be coming due, but you guys are working on the budget, and I know that you're doing what you can to fill in for that role right now, but that's a lot for you to be taking on too. So I think people are not trying to be selfish about this. I'm thinking about you guys as much as I am about the residents and business owners of the town. Because we need to have a solution that's gonna be workable, that's going to be effective. And you're not gonna cobble together a budget that you have to start doing modifications in the first quarter of 2025 or the second quarter, like we saw this big modification that happened in the August town board meeting. And I was really surprised nobody spoke about that. But there's a lot here all basically hitting the fan at the last minute here, which to me, I'm getting some concern because I haven't really seen anything take action yet, and we're already into September. So that's my big concern here.
I want to piggyback on what Joe was saying. When I go to the town board meetings and I listen to Joe speak and also Dan, they know so much more than I do. They really do in terms of this. I've never had that be part of my job when I was an engineer. I've never done it on the level that both of these people have done it. I think that you could benefit. These guys have a lot of questions in particular. I mean, a lot of us do, but they have a lot of questions. I'm sort of volunteering you. I hope you don't mind, but the point is they get up and they read all these numbers in their 3 minutes. I think this is my suggestion. I think that you should have a meeting with these two guys in particular and let them ask their questions. Let them bring their numbers and take them seriously, because the last controller, like I said, I liked Beth. I worked with her on a project for almost a year. The Police Reform Implementation Task Force. I thought she was a fabulous person, but that doesn't mean that she had the skill set as a controller. It just doesn't mean that she had it. You can be really smart, but just right. So the thing is, she may have not done the correct model. Jamie was supposed to have been the town treasurer. So whoever becomes, I said this at the last meeting, whoever becomes the new supervisor has to be able to understand this inside and out. That's their obligation. You're not going to get that by just picking anybody off the street, that seems to have good qualifications. So since it's going to take a while for you to resolve that, why can't you benefit from the intelligence and the knowledge that's in the room, if you guys are willing? Because these people have scoured the budgets, they've scoured everything, and they have real questions. And I think they would bring a lot of added value to the table. So I hope you don't mind that I'm saying that, but that's what I'm recommending.
I think it's a good recommendation, Marina. I think they both volunteered a few times to do something similar to that. But again, like you
Then I'm
said,
seconding their volunteering. I hope you're not mad at me.
Yeah, I'm willing to help. I'd like to see this resolved. I mean, if I could just throw one more question and make one more comment. Is it Frank? You were at the last meeting and you were in the controller's office?
Yeah.
So I'm sure you have a pretty good handle on what the comptroller created, what the rate design for the residential and the commercial side of the house, the water and sewer, the inputs that went into that.
To be honest, I didn't deal with the math side of it. That was
Okay. All right.
Beth and, Chris with the input,
Chris
the
provided
num-
the
yeah, the
data,
number
yes.
being back and forth,
Okay.
that I didn't select.
So just an example of one thing I'd like to throw towards you guys. It's not on the residential side, it's on the commercial side. But essentially, this would cut the commercial bill in half with the minimum usage fees. Just taking a minute or so to explain it. The water fee was the same for residential and commercial prior to the rate design change. It was $30. That was the residential and the commercial minimum fee. In sewer district one, that rate went to $155. And the reason why that did, I talked about it a little bit, is a portion of the dollars came off the property tax bill annually, which was about $320. And in talking with the comptroller, the reason why it went to 155 is because we billed twice a year, so that's 310, and that basically made the property tax reduction. It made the bill whole again. So 310 came off the property tax, and then sewer district one, the cost went to 155 times 2 was 310. And then talking with her a little bit further, well, what happened with the commercial rates? She basically did straight line math and she just multiplied the residential rates by 4 and came up with the commercial rate. So because the residential rate from sewer district one went to $155, the commercial rate went to $620. And because sewer district 6 went to $79, the commercial rate went to $316. And then the water district, it went from $78, it went to $312. So all she did was multiply it by a factor of 4. I was clear when I spoke to her about the property tax bills. Was the reduction off of the property tax bill the same for residential as it was for commercial? And her answer was yes. About $310 came off res and biz. So what's happening in essence is the commercial minimum rate has gone up 4-fold when it didn't need to go up 4-fold at all. If you just dropped that by 50% and dropped the 620 310, dropped the 316 to 158, dropped the 312 to 156. Essentially in sewer district one, you would reduce the commercial bill from $932 every 6 months to $932 for the year. You cut that bill in half. Like you heard from the American Legion that said that our bill went from basically $500 a year to $2,000. That's because they're getting hit with two $932 bills every 6 months now. And in sewer district one, you would see a savings of $314. The bill would be cut from $620 to $314. Now that's if you did nothing else with this rate design. And I can tell you that the comptroller's methodology for coming up with a 4-fold increase, if you, Matt, could explain to me, and you may not know the answer, but if you could explain, or anybody could generally say, why you think that the maintenance and upkeep of a commercial property is exactly 4-fold what a residential property is, that would be the only justification for seeing an increase like that. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. A comptroller coming in the door tomorrow is going to have to try and digest what happened with this rate design and why all these inputs got modified so significantly. But if you did nothing other than just reduce the minimum fee for sewer district 1, 6, and water for commercial by 50%, you would cut their bills in half for the minimum use. So the American Legion would have an annual bill of about $1,000, not $2,000. And somebody that's a big property owner would have, even if they used 100,000 gallons of water, of course they're going to be paying for the 1,000 gallons, but their minimum use fee would be reduced by half. And that, to me, is one of the blatant issues that I see that's wrong with this rate design. There's some other things that I have questions about. But that 4-fold increase is really what slammed commercial business owners and property owners. And it affected the residents in a different way, but other parts of the rate design did that. So that's one of the things you guys really have to look at. It won't fix it for everybody, but commercially, you got 127 commercial properties in sewer district 1 and 182 in sewer district 6, that's 309 properties. They will all benefit immediately by making a change to that rate design and cutting that minimum usage fee in half. And these are the kinds of things that have to be dug into in the controller's office when you start looking at this rate design, which is why I don't think this can happen between now and October, which only leaves you with two choices: a complete rollback or making a modification, and you run the risk of, if you don't do it right, you're gonna get serious rollback from the residents, business owners. And this is what I've struggled with for months now, because I've looked at this really closely, and I can see what's happened in the rate design, and I can see the effect. Oh, by the way, if you did that, if you just did what I said and just knocked it off by 50%, you would have a change of $232,700 in the overall water. So you wouldn't take that much money in. So that's where this gets into. Now we need to make sure that when we do the 2025 budget, we're not putting in an extra 232,000 in expenditures, because you need to save it in this piece right here. And that's where these inputs have to be looked at really carefully. And by the way, even if you cut that in half, you're still making about $300,000 to $400,000 more annually than what you were making before this rate design went into effect, because it was $30 for commercial businesses. So by leaving it at $312, you're still picking up money, making twice as much as what you needed to recoup the property tax money. But this is the minutia, and it makes people's heads swim, because it's really, there's a lot to it. But you have to look at it in all these little pieces in order to figure out what the full impact is when you start running the rates across the board for the town. So that's all. I wanted to mention that. I thought it was important to at least talk to that one piece of it, so you could start looking at something like that a little more close.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think the committee appreciates you sharing that. I know you sent me an email with that in writing. So we'll definitely look into it, something that we can discuss with the controller's office. But like I said, we hear you. The conversations have not stopped. We have them every day, and they'll continue.
Also, I wanted to just moving again, just very quickly, isn't there a difference between a commercial entity that is a for-profit, like a restaurant, and a commercial, meaning non-residential entity like the American Legion, which is like a benevolent organization in a way? Shouldn't there be more than one category for commercial?
I know that that's one of the things that's currently being discussed.
Thank you. That's very helpful to know, really.
I'm not really all that involved, but even I know that that's one of the things that's being discussed.
I'm grateful. Thank you.
Can I just ask just one more question? And you don't have to answer it now, but just a quick question. You had talked about, Matt, when we were looking at the first and second quarter, corporate utility bills, legislation. I know from past years, for example, GE was way in arrears, with billing, but to the tune of over 400,000.
They've since caught up.
Right, and so that was just a general question. I know you guys are looking at, what's been due for rents and what's come in, but if you've got any big players that are out there that are behind, big amounts of money, how are you going after that? Because if it's coming in after the new year, that's great, but that's not helping you with the market. So that was just a thought. I know that they were at one point really.
Yeah, that was something we worked with for a while, and it's gotten better. And when it's such a large customer like that, you want to make sure that cash flow is coming in.
Exactly. Yeah, that's big time.
And they were paying their penalty, and it didn't. So penalty was applied, but it didn't. It
Yeah.
wasn't an-
Yeah, it's
it
not
wasn't-
helpful for the town though, when you're trying to balance a budget, you've got things that you're
Yeah.
trying to spend the money on, and it's already allocated, and you're not cutting the check, so. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have anything else? Okay, our next meeting is going to be on Thursday, October 3rd at 4:30 PM here in the Schaefer Room. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. There's a second? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Your return. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, no, I actually was gonna send you.